Well, you have to wonder about some of the stuff our kids are being taught in school these days.
Yeah, because a father has this week unleashed at his daughter's school after she was forced to make a group apology to the stolen generation as part of National Sorry Day.
My 7-year-old daughter came home today and she told me that her and her classmates had to participate in a group apology to the stolen generation. Now, I have no problem with any of my children learning about it. That's completely fine. What I won't tolerate and what I won't accept is any of my children being forced to apologise for something that they had absolutely nothing to do with. Stop playing your woke games with our children. Our children are already being welcomed to the country that they're born in, and now they're being told that they're personally responsible for those horrific events.
As if that wasn't bad enough, what about reports from another dad that his 3-year-old child in daycare was made to say sorry to the stolen generation as well?
They're being told to apologise for things that have happened over 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Now, my son was taught to say sorry when he does something wrong, maybe, throws a toy. What sort of guilt are we instilling in young children at the age of 3.5 years old? My son's done nothing wrong. In life, we have to move forward and we have to look forward. And if we keep looking backwards, well, we're going to have another accident.
Joining us now is Shadow Minister for Indigenous Australians Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price and Centre for Independent Studies Indigenous Forum Warren Mundine. Hi to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us on the panel this evening. Senator Price, why are kids who have nothing to do with the stolen generation being forced to apologise?
Well, because our education system is indoctrinating children instead of educating our children, instead of allowing kids to be kids, to be fulfilled during their childhood so they can be adults who can contribute meaningfully to society. I mean, it has to stop. This nonsense absolutely has to stop. It doesn't help anybody whatsoever. And our kids should not be subjected to this level of ideological indoctrination, especially at such a young age.
Let me get your thoughts on this one. I'll go to you on this one, Warren. A Queenslander has been left stunned after turning up for a job interview, right? I believe it was for a customer service role at an insurance company. You can imagine you've got your resume, your palms are sweaty, you walk into the interview room and the person conducting the interview begins with a welcome to country. Now, the person was apparently absolutely flabbergasted. Is that normal behaviour, and what do you think?
Well, I've got, about 5,000 Aboriginals who work for me, and we don't do that. Look, this is the whole nonsense that's going on. Now, the Yes campaigners are carrying on as if they didn't actually lose that vote. They've just sort of delayed a little bit, and the states and territories are now indoctrinating kids. What sort of 3-year-old kid is going to be thinking about, it's my fault that all the kids was taken away years ago? This is indoctrination, propaganda, and I reckon if any teacher did it to any of my kids or grandkids, they'd be in a lot of trouble because I'd be calling for their sacking. And this is the problem that we're having in this country. I call them Brads. I named it after Brad, the former head of the Woolworths.
Brad Banducci.
Yeah, they're called Brads. That's what they are. Yeah. Look, all these Brads, they just hate this country. They just hate this people. You saw it with Laura Tingle. I don't even know why she's living in this country. She hates us. She thinks we're all a mob of racists, and they just keep on going on and on with this nonsense. And it's not going to get anyone a job. It's not going to bring us together as a nation. It's just division and hatred that these people push all the time.
Yeah, and Senator Price, speaking about welcome to country, do you think that it actually makes people feel unwelcome in their own country?
Yeah, look, I get the sense that that's what, many people sort of feel about that. Well, I was born here. I belong to this country just like anybody else. So why should, have to be continually welcome to the nation that we're born in? Again, I think reserve these things for special occasions, if there's foreign dignitaries or something like that. But the fact that we've got to be confronted with it at every single opportunity, I feel ridiculous when actually people will say, I want to acknowledge and pay respects to all the Indigenous people in the room, and you look around the place and sometimes you're the only one in the room and it's like, okay, can we just get on with things? Why are we being singled out here? Let's just move forward. Let's just get on with the job. Let's do things in practical terms to make, produce outcomes on the ground, and just stop with the waffle and the nonsense. Let's just move forward.
Yeah. I want to ask you about the University of New South Wales. They're creating a micro-treaty, Warren, saying that while the Voice referendum was disappointing, a micro-treaty process would create space for dialogue with Indigenous students, staff and Aboriginal communities on the university campus. Have you heard of this, and what are your thoughts on that?
Look, it's another joke. A micro treaty. University of New South Wales has been one of the most successful universities in regard to getting Aboriginal law students, Aboriginal, professors, Aboriginal doctors, Aboriginal everything in this. I don't even know what they're going on about. It's just another typical example of some of the nonsense that happens on these universities' places. We've seen all the nonsense with the anti-Semitic stuff that's going on in these campuses and everything about this. Look, we're getting a bit sick and tired of all this nonsense that goes on. Aboriginal people across this country just want to get on with their lives. They want to be able to get a job, able to get their kids fed and get to school. They want to be able to have a house. They want to do everything and have the same opportunities that every other people in this country. And these people, these academics and that, look, they're raving on about that. It was disappointing for the Yes campaign. No, it wasn't disappointing. It was disappointing for the idiots who voted for it. The rest of Australians, the vast majority of them, the 60%, want everyone to be treated equal and treated as the same and have the same opportunities as everyone else. Not what these idiots are carrying on about.
Yeah, and that's 60% of us, Senator Price, obviously voted no. Now we've got the university talking about a micro-treaty. Will that actually make any tangible difference? Will it actually improve the outcomes, the lives of Aboriginal people?
It seems like some of these universities are rolling in that much money, they don't know what to do with it, so they're just making things up on the spot instead of just educating our young people so they can become effective in whatever qualification that they've earned themselves and go forward in employment without all this other nonsense. I mean, seriously, micro-treaties, it's almost like there are those university professors who are non-Indigenous who just want to self-flagellate. I mean, if self-flagellation ended up being public stonings, would they be up for it then? I mean, how far are they going to go? Seriously, Warren, are you and I going to sort out a micro-treaty, between Bundjalung and Warlpiri? Can we just get on with it?
Actually, I've had a second thought about it. I wouldn't mind a little treaty from New South Wales University. I wouldn't mind getting a doctorate, sort of some professorship for something like that and lounge around in academia for the rest of my life and never do anything for humanity at all.
Senator Price, I want to quickly ask you, the Australian newspaper put in a Freedom of Information request to the federal government for details regarding cabinet discussion around Makarrata. Now, this is the body which will, I believe, oversee treaty negotiations. Taxpayers have got $5.8 million, I think, budgeted towards it. The government have said, sorry, confidential, cabinet confidentiality, we can't tell you anything about it. Shouldn't we know what the government is planning with regards treaty in the future?
Oh, look, absolutely. Anything with the term Makarrata in it, which is a cultural form of payback, a spearing in the leg, and the investment of many millions of dollars, the Australian taxpayer should absolutely understand what is going on behind the scenes. But we know that this government is acting in stealth to try and push forward. They're looking to win this next federal election so they can then foist this onto the Australian people, despite the result of the referendum suggesting that no, not only did we not want voice, but we didn't want Makarrata, we didn't want treaty and truth-telling. We didn't want those things as Australians. We wanted practical measures going forward, and the Australian people, this Prime Minister had promised accountability and transparency, but as we can see, there is no accountability or transparency in not offering an insight to the Australian people as to where our taxpayer funds are being spent.
Yeah, absolutely. Warren, what do you think? Well, why the secrecy here?
Oh, because these blokes, this is what they're doing. They do not want to accept democracy. They don't want to. You only have to look at the voice vote in South Australia. Less than 10% of Aboriginals supported it. You look at the two elections they had in Victoria in regard to the First Nations Assembly. Less than 7% of Aboriginals actually supported it. So even Aboriginal people don't want them. And yet these white people out here, and I've got to say it, non-Aboriginal people, not all of them are white, they're out there going, oh, we've got to protect the Aboriginal people, we've got to look after the Aboriginal people, we think this. And all they're doing is setting up multi-million dollars of wasted funds which should be better spent about getting kids to school, getting better health services in Aboriginal communities and the opportunities for economic development to happen. That's the things that will make the differences, not this waste of more bureaucrats.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're both always so spot on. Warren Mundine, Jacinta Nampijinpa Price, always great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this evening.